Make sure you stay tuned to the Bing Zang Zoom.
Hello, this is T.
And this is Matthew.
And we are the Bing Zang Zoom podcast. So what's today? It's 14th. All right, January 14th, 2020. We just like to say big happy birthday to a couple of people here.
Yeah, first of all, we got Dave Grohl, who's one of my favorite people in the universe. He was the drummer for Nirvana. And, of course, he's the front man for the Foo Fighters.
Oh, yeah.
And then he actually has a special connection to us because he grew up not far from where we're currently living.
That's right.
And then he also, of course, is from Seattle, where he joined Nirvana, which is where I lived for quite some time. So, a bit of a connection there.
See, one of the things I always wondered, right, with the Foo Fighters, right?
Yeah.
This is like, do you have to be a black belt to be a Foo Fighter?
No, I think it's an honorary name. No. I think it's just an honorary title. But the question is, are the fighters Foo or are they fighting Foo? Like, are they the fighters of Foo or are they fighting Foo?
You know, I hate to come to this conclusion, but I'm pretty sure David Grohl can take Goku.
Oh?
Yeah. With his guitar. Without the guitar, I don't know. I'm not too sure about that one. Well, maybe not with the guitar, because that's not...
No, I mean, Dave Grohl is an incredible musician. He does all kinds of crazy things, like, invites people up on stage to play the guitar instead of him for parts,
Now, is that because he sucks, or is that
No.
He's good?
I mean, he's generally good. He just wants people to enjoy the shows,
All right.
I remember... Yeah. I remember the coolest thing that I ever saw that he was a part of, in my opinion, was they did it was a charity concert.
Yeah.
And so they got all the surviving members of Nirvana, Pat Smear, Chris Novoselic, and himself together, and they wrote a song, and Paul McCartney sung the lyrics to it.
Oh, man.
And so it was sort of this weird Beatles-Nirvana crossover. But a few months after that, I was in Seattle, and I got somehow luckied out and got tickets to the Paul McCartney concert. And so the first set was good, and then it was everything you wanted it to be from a Paul McCartney concert. But then the second set, he goes in the middle of it, he's like, "Yeah, I got some friends who I want to bring out," and it was all the surviving members of Nirvana, and they were his backing band for the entire second set.
Wow,
it's just an incredible show.
So you think they're ever gonna do like they did Tupac on digital enhancement or whatever? Yeah. You think they're gonna do that with
Kurt Cobain?
Kurt Cobain, yeah.
No, I don't think so, because I think Courtney Love, she's kind of the Yoko Ono. Yeah. So she's kind of the Yoko Ono. She just wants money, and I don't think that they'd ever come to a price that they could all agree on. Yeah. But you never know. But that's not the only birthday. We've
got LL Cool J, ladies and gentlemen. That's right from my city, New York City. You dig me? Going back to David Grohl really quick. Today he's 51. LL Cool J, 52. All right.
Similar ages.
Yeah, pretty close. They could have did a band together. You never know. They could have called it Lip Fighters. LL Cool J is always licking his lips and stuff. You know what I mean? Chat Fighters. That'd be it.
Yeah, LL Cool J had a good career, not just in music, but he went on and had several TV shows, and it's one of these people that really dedicated himself to doing a lot of different things and was successful at all of them. Clothing brand.
Look at was it Any Given Sunday with Jamie Foxx? So he's in there with somebody who was a good comedian and good actor as well. Jamie Foxx has really proven himself, but hey, at least he can say that he knocked Jamie Foxx out. On the set.
Something that we all wish we could say.
Just something about his face, man. Jamie Foxx, man. Maybe it's not so much his face as the fact that he goes by his last name, which is Foxx. And not too keen on foxes.
So you want to knock out foxes? You just see him walking?
If I see a fox, I just, we have to have a stare down.
Get out of my garbage can!
Not this time.
Not this time.
I think it's the Yosemite.
Of course, that was
Sam
Jamie Foxx, not an animal.
Right, yeah. Nah, Jamie Foxx, man. Jamie Foxx really cool. I don't think he's digging in anybody's trash can anytime soon. That man has more money than I could probably go to sleep tonight and dream of.
Yeah, I mean, he's an incredible actor and did some really good films. I mean, Ray, of course, was fantastic.
Yeah, that was his standout one. Even his performance in Ali.
Yeah,
that was good. Like, I
top of the
didn't
line.
expect that. I was like, wait, where's the funny part? I'm guessing this guy's supposed to be funny. They cast Jamie Foxx, and then he's just, really doing the thing in terms of his acting.
Yeah, the first thing that comes to my mind, though, just because this is the way my mind rolls, when I think of Jamie Foxx, is Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, which, I mean, he did...
Bluehead.
Yeah, Bluehead. Electro, yeah, he did good with that one. And, and I love the Amazing Spider-Man films. I love them a lot more than most people do. I think that Andrew Garfield was the perfect Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. But, we've got a lot of, newer comic book stuff that's been coming out since then.
Absolutely.
Have you been watching Crisis on Infinite Earths?
No, I have not. So if you could elaborate, then that would be great.
So there's a set of TV shows called the Arrowverse. They're the DC shows. So that's Arrow, Flash, Legends of Tomorrow, Supergirl, Black Lightning.
Those I'm familiar with. Yeah, separately. Yeah.
Right. They all fall under this umbrella of the Arrowverse. And so every year they do a major crossover. Like all the shows get together and it's one storyline throughout it. Now, there was a comic book that came out in 1985. DC Comics had been going on for a long time, and they had their multiverse. They had, different universes. They had different characters. They just acquired a bunch of companies that went bankrupt that they bought out. And so continuity got really confusing. And so they decided to combine all the Earths into one by having this big story about all the different multiverse being destroyed by a monster, basically.
Right.
And so since this is Stephen Amell, who plays the Green Arrow, this is his last year on the shows, they decided to adapt Crisis on Infinite Earth as their crossover. But not only did they cross over all their current shows, like I said, Supergirl, Flash, Arrow, Legends of Tomorrow, Black Lightning, Batwoman, but they also, because it's a multiverse, brought in a whole lot of other people. So they had, making small cameos and kind of completing their stories, they had Tom Welling, who played Smallville, right? Right, he was back. They had a guy who's the reporter from the Tim Burton Batman, the Michael Keaton Batman, was on it. Yeah, they had some people from the Titans show make a small appearance on it. They had the Flash from the 90s television show come back and actually played kind of a significant role in it. They had a guy played Jonah Hex. They had Kevin Conroy, who's the voice of Batman from the animated series back in the 90s. He plays an evil alternate version of Batman in it.
Did the Flash come back as an alternate Flash?
Yeah, he came back as the 90s Flash. No, he's been on the show before because he played his dad and he played Jake Garrick and stuff. But he came back as the Flash from the 90s show. And they even reference other characters from the 90s show in it and stuff. Yeah. Birds of Prey characters are in it. Yeah.
That's something that I have to check out. Seeing as I'm a comic book fan. Like I said, I'm not the biggest DC fan, but on the DC side of things, it's Batman. However, that's too good to pass up. So is it's its own series, or is it just...
So it's a crossover of all the series. So it's going to be 5 episodes in total. The last 2 air tonight, or have already aired by the time this goes live.
Right.
But it's an episode of Flash, an episode of Arrow, an episode of whatever. But really, it doesn't matter what show you're watching. The whole story is one story. It's like basically a 5 episodes worth of a movie, right? I was kind of hoping they would do a limited theater release of it, but that didn't happen.
You know what I was thinking about? Actually, I was watching Defenders, right? I know I'm very late. But I was watching Defenders on Netflix. And I was just looking at it, man, and just the way the intro is. I know that they have to go in depth with the story a little bit, but I said this could easily be a film release.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, it's on Netflix, so good for them for having quality stuff, because I do remember a time where Netflix the instant queue was trash, and the DVDs used to get sent out. You used to have to order what you wanted. If somebody had it, then you had to wait. You know.
I mean, it's amazing how big that company's come in just a few years.
Yeah.
Did you like The Defenders?
The Defenders. I mean, so far I'm in it right now. I'm watching it right now. So I haven't gotten far enough, so to speak, to really judge it.
Because I feel like The Defenders, I thought they did a good job of balancing the characters and stuff, but I thought that the story never really got up and going, which is, very different than, say, like the Avengers movies, they do a good job of balancing the characters, but it's all in progression of the story. Right. Same thing with Crisis on Infinite Earth. They do a good job of balancing the characters, but it's in relation to the story overall. But yeah, I mean, I would definitely say if you're liking The Defenders, you're liking seeing these multiple heroes in one show together, big crossover show. That's kind of what Crisis on Infinite Earth is, except for DC.
My main thing with it is that the only thing is that all the characters are on there, that makes it cool and interesting to watch. It's just that, they have one enemy basically.
Right.
And so how do you get that to where it's going to be interesting over the course of multiple episodes unless certain things happen? And right. I mean, you don't want to just do it all in one episode, but that's also why I said, well, you know what? A movie would have been nice, just a short film, something like that. Defenders, bam. It can be on Netflix. I watch it on Netflix, and then it would make a little bit more sense in the grand scheme of things because now it's more compacted to maybe a 2-hour film as opposed to, a few different episodes where sometimes it seems like it's dragging. The most recent episode was that I watched it, it seemed to drag just a little bit, but it did have its interesting times, and I'm not really complaining too much because there's not that many shows that don't drag at some point.
Yeah.
In order to just get by to the next.
Well, it's interesting, too, because cable shows, are typically like 23 episodes a season, right? But we're looking at Netflix and stuff like that where it's like, 13 episodes, 10 episodes, 8 episodes, whatever. And sometimes the shorter runs actually do better because it's almost like a long movie than a short series.
Absolutely. Very true. So what else we have going on?
Well, speaking of long movies and short movies and Netflix... we actually do have a couple of trailers that dropped this week. We had the second trailer for Bloodshot. Let's start with that one because I think the other one is going to be a longer discussion. Do you know anything about Bloodshot?
I do. So here's the crazy part is I used to read Bloodshot comics like a long time ago. I've since forgotten everything about it. And it's also because, you don't hear about Bloodshot as much. It's not as big a name, but he's something that caught my eye when I was a kid.
Yeah.
So much so that I used to make these little wrestlers aside from my own wrestling name. So I had other characters in wrestling, and so I had somebody named Bloodshot, and it was based off of the Bloodshot character. But yeah, that's when I was a kid. I haven't heard Bloodshot for a while. Then I saw that they were making a movie. I said, oh, man, that's probably going to help bring everything back because I literally just dropped it all. I don't remember anything about Bloodshot. And then I see who's in the trailer.
Yeah, Vin Diesel. He's an incredible actor.
He's all over the place, man. Bloodshot, he's Groot, he's everywhere. He's Toretto.
He's definitely doing multiple universes here. Yeah, he's Groot, so he's another superhero already. But yeah, the Bloodshot trailer looks pretty interesting. This was the second trailer that they released, but this one we got a little bit more visuals of like with the gray skin and all that. For anybody who doesn't know, Bloodshot is a Valiant comic book from the Valiant universe, and basically the guy is a super soldier who has nanites in his bloodstream that let him heal incredibly fast, like almost like Vampire or like Wolverine or something, where he just like second he cuts. Just heals up.
Yeah. So, how do you feel about the movie itself? Do you feel like just from the trailers that it is doing him justice in terms of?
Well, I don't know a lot about Bloodshot. You probably.
Okay. So then it might be better to go into it not having any type of comic book relation to it. That way you can go into the movie with an open mind, and then you can determine whether the movie was good or not, as opposed to whether it, took away from the comic book or whether it didn't. Because sometimes movies can get spoiled like that. Like X-Men, for example. The first X-Men, I'm not going to say too many people say that was a great movie, but at the same time, it wasn't as bad to me at the time as some people made it out to be. You know, I went back and I watched it again, and I still came up with the same conclusion. The only thing that I would say that really hit me, even when I was younger watching the movie to now, is Sabretooth, man. Sabretooth, he wasn't hitting. The first Sabretooth was not hitting. So after that, they got the right guy to play Sabretooth. He might not have been as big or as tall or whatnot, but they got the right guy the second time around.
Ooh, shiny. Yeah. I definitely agree with that. I don't even know if in the first one it was the actor,
or at least gave him the lines.
Exactly. Yeah.
Nothing against him.
I think it was the portrayal.
Didn't have any.
Yeah. Because he was almost more like a feral beast than an actual character.
He didn't really say anything. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Whereas, you know, they could have gone into the relationship between him and Wolverine a little bit more, especially during the fight scenes. But I mean, you know, they can do flashbacks later on down the line, but they ended up doing that later, so I can't complain now.
Yeah,
in that movie anyway.
I mean, as much as I love the X-Men movies, I'm really excited to see what the MCU is going to do.
Oh yeah, please do them justice, because X-Men is what brought me to Marvel. Yeah. You know,
did you see the new trailer for the New Mutants?
No.
So the New Mutants it was produced and made by Foxx. Mm-hmm. You know, when Foxx still owned the X-Men. It was an X-Men spinoff that was supposed to be sort of like the anti-X-Men. So like where the X-Men live in this, you know, wonderful home and has an incredible teacher. It's the people who don't live in a wonderful home and have a horrible teacher and stuff. So it was a horror movie. It was a straight up horror movie with X-Men characters in it. And it never got released. They kept getting pushed back. Now that Disney owns Fox, Disney's going to release it. But there's a rumor floating around because Disney officially put something out and then retracted it. Mm-hmm. But there was basically it said that New Mutants is going to be the first official MCU continuity movie with X-Men characters in it. But then they pulled the article, like as soon as the article went out, and it was an official Disney article, like it was in their press release, and then they pulled it immediately after that.
Well, now that you mentioned what it is and everything like that, I think I did see it. It was how long ago that it first?
Oh, it was several years ago that they first started talking about it, but the new trailer dropped last week.
Okay.
Yeah.
The new trailer, was there one?
Yeah, there was an older trailer.
Okay, so then that's probably something I saw. But another thing, speaking of trailers, you go on YouTube right now, you can find the Black Panther 2 trailer. You can find Iron Man 5 and 6 trailers. You know,
you confused me at first. I'm like, where's this going?
Meaning that your trailers, you can find a trailer if you want to find a trailer. It doesn't mean it's going to be the actual movie's trailer. It's unfortunate, but there's been fan-made trailers. There's been a couple of times where, man, they got me. I'm sitting there watching, like, oh, man, it's going to be sick. Oh. And then at the bottom, at the end, it says fan-made or, you know, just for the purpose of entertainment. And then that's when I want to just leave a whole bunch of comments, you know, one letter at a time.
You lying son.
How dare you take something that I hold so dear and trash it by using clips from other movies.
That's actually how a lot of movies pitch their ideas. Like if a studio hasn't bought something yet, they'll do what they call a concept trailer, and they really will take clips from other movies and put it together and be like, this is basically what our movie's going to look like. That's an actual thing.
Oh, well, you know what? Yeah. Keep doing what y'all do then. You know, y'all out here just looking out for how you want a movie to look. Hey, that in that case, see, you learn something new every day.
That's how Stranger Things got bought, is they made a concept trailer with clips from Ghostbusters, Poltergeist, The Goonies, and a bunch of stuff like that.
I got a relationship with Poltergeist. If you know me, you know that my professional wrestling name is Poltergeist Pedro Jesus. That's right. Go look that up. Might have more to talk about coming later in this year. But however, I digress. Yeah. So what else do we have in terms of movie trailers?
So we were talking about the continuity of the New Mutants. Like, is it going to be in the MCU? Is it not? Another one that we don't really know where it lands is the Morbius trailer.
Yes.
So Morbius is a Spider-Man villain who's getting his own movie starring Jared Leto, sort of like what they did with Venom.
Yeah.
Right? Now, you said you haven't seen the trailer yet?
No, I haven't seen it. I just scrolled by and I saw it and I put it in my save later to watch later.
Well, the Venom didn't necessarily tie into the MCU, right? There was nothing that directly related it to it.
Yeah, even his costume was completely different.
Nothing had to do with Spider-Man or whatever. Like, but it was a very MCU feeling movie, right? Like, if they were to say, "Oh no, it's in continuity," it wouldn't blow anybody's mind. But the fact is it wasn't set up to be in continuity. Right. So Morbius, they've already said, is going to be in the same continuity as the Venom movie. However, in the trailer, we see several things pointing to the fact that this is canon to the MCU. They have a spoiler alert for Spider-Man Far From Home, I guess. But at the end of that one, he's accused of being a murderer, right? So there's a big sign that has Spider-Man on it. That looks like Tobey Maguire Spider-Man for some reason. But it says murderer written across it. And so it's like, okay. So they're referencing something from an MCU Spider-Man movie. Okay, well, maybe it's a coincidence.
That's a coincidence,
right? But at the end of the movie, Michael Keaton as the Vulture pops up.
What?
And says to Morbius, he's like, so are you going to be the good guy or the bad guy or something along those lines? And it's like, I bet you can use some friends, setting up that they're going to do the Sinister Six. So that means that this has to be in the MCU continuity, unless there's like some kind of major twist that they're going to throw at us. It has to be in the MCU continuity.
Wow.
Which means that Venom is in the MCU continuity. Right. So this opens up this gigantic world for Spider-Man characters in the MCU.
That's crazy that they're going this route. You've had, on DC side of things, you've had Joker, right?
Yeah.
You've had Venom, which he was portrayed as a hero.
It's an anti-hero.
Right, in that movie. And now you got Morbius, and it's like, okay. All right, now. The Sinister Six is a possibility. I just hope that all this isn't for nothing. Like, please do it. Please do it.
Unlike Andrew Garfield, right?
Yeah, don't just shut it down and right when it's getting good. Please continue on. If you need voices to be heard, then just put out a petition, or maybe we can do that. The Bing Zang Zoom petition right now. Because we want these things to actually happen and take hold.
I mean, it's interesting, too, because, like, with the MCU originally, there was, which is Marvel Cinematic Universe. I keep saying that in case you guys don't know what it is. That's what I'm talking about. Is we got Iron Man, then we got Thor and Captain America, and all these individual movies that then led to the crossover of the Avengers.
Right.
What Sony's doing is interesting, is they let Spider-Man do the heavy lifting. Tom Holland as Spider-Man in the MCU.
Yeah.
Now they're going back and doing the villains individually, and then the villains will eventually come together to fight him. So it's almost a reversal in a way, where it's like, okay, set up the universe, then set up the characters, as opposed to set up the characters to make the universe.
Interesting stuff there. All right, well, on another note, UFC next month, February 29th. We've got Joseph Benavidez versus a guy whose name I'm going to slaughter. I believe it's Figueiredo, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm not familiar with him as much. But Joseph Benavidez, his record is 28-5-0. Figueiredo, 17-1-0. Chartway Arena in Norfolk. Make sure you're there for that, because I'm going to be there for that. And that's that. You understand? If you're a big MMA fan, you know that one of the biggest fight promotions here is Spartica. And I've been to several Spartica events. This time it's gonna be my first UFC event, and it's right in the Norfolk area. So moving on from that.
Wait. The big takeaway that I have from that, I had no idea this was a leap year.
Oh.
So that's February 29th. I'm like, what? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Do you think that's going to be a good matchup, though?
I mean, I am not as familiar with Figueiredo, but Joseph Benavidez is a problem.
Problem in a good way or bad
no? He's
way?
a problem in a good way for himself, not for the person that he's going to be fighting. So the only thing is the difference in experience there. I mean, you got 11 more fights or so, and that's in the win column.
Right.
If we're talking total fights, Joseph Benavidez has 33 to Figueiredo's 18. So, a little difference there in terms of experience. Whether it's wins or losses, it's still a difference in terms of experience. But I don't know enough to really speak on it. I don't know enough on Figueiredo's talents to talk. I just know that Benavidez is good in every aspect.
Right.
He can stand. He can go to the ground. He's a pretty well-rounded fighter, and that is why he's a problem for a lot of people that he faces.
Gotcha. See, I don't really follow UFC at all. I'm not necessarily super opposed to MMA or anything like that. I have a few buddies who fight MMA.
Yeah.
But something about the UFC in particular, and I guess some of these other professional MMA things, I love the idea of mixing martial arts together.
Right.
You know, taking the best from this and taking the best from that, and, you know, standing on tradition, but mixing the traditions together and everything. But something about the way that it's just, you know, it's all ground and pound. It's all, you know, Muay Thai and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and that's it. But then it's called MMA, you know, and stuff. Something about the culture around it just, to me, feels like it's leaving out giant chunks of what martial arts is.
What it initially was to begin with. Understood. So, for example, if you walk into a place and you say, okay, well, what do you guys do here? They're like, MMA. Okay. If you are not up to speed on what it is that is involved in MMA, then you might say, okay, well, what is that? Mixed martial arts. Okay, well, what
are you
specific martial arts are being mixed here? And then, you know, they might go into jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, or maybe they're throwing in some boxing and everything like that. Maybe it's everything, and then some places are more geared towards, you know, the mixing of one or two styles.
Right.
But overall, it is mixed martial arts, so that means whatever. But then you might want to get a little bit more specific as to, okay, well, what am I learning? You know, how am I supposed to move up to the next level if I don't know what I am learning?
Yeah.
In particular, so I can understand that.
You know, and then martial arts, it's such a wide thing, because some people do martial arts for self-defense.
Right.
Some people do it for the competitive nature, you know, MMA and Olympic Taekwondo, boxing, et cetera, et cetera. But then there's also a sort of spirituality to it, and by that I don't mean you have to be religious or be Buddhist or whatever, but, you know, there's definitely something about, you know, like the way it calms you down, the almost meditative elements of it.
Also, you know what you're capable of. And so then that helps you to be a little bit more calm, because you can say, well, you know what, I can break this dude's face in 2 seconds. Let me just chill.
Right, exactly. So there's so many elements to it that I feel like MMA is just so drawn in on one thing. You know, it's just the competitive aspect of it that it's missing so many other elements of martial arts. And again, that, you know, I don't hold any animosity towards people who do that, but sort of my problem with the culture right now, because I mentioned the culture in the beginning, is it doesn't appeal to me because it's leaving out so many other elements. But there are so many people who are like, well, MMA is the only thing that works. You know, Muay Thai is the only real martial art. Everything else would never work today. It's like, no, I think that has more to do with the practitioner. You know. Oh,
absolutely. Absolutely. There's people that are in, for example, you have a few karate guys. You have Stephen Thompson. You share the last name. Right?
Oh, he's my distant cousin. I'm sure. Right.
And so, like, he comes from a karate base, and he's been pretty successful in MMA. Lyoto Machida, another person that's been successful coming from a karate background. So it's not that these things don't work or that you can dismiss something. I wouldn't dismiss anything as long as it has some value that's pertinent to me. if I could use it in some way, shape, or form, then show me.
Yeah.
You know, if it is something that I am not that good at, or I'm just not grasping it just yet. Let's say a person does jiu-jitsu and they pick that up very well. Let's say they do
everybody's
Brazilian
different
jiu-jitsu.
too.
Right.
So.
And then you have another person that they pick up the stand-up portion. They pick up Muay Thai or boxing or Wing Chun, right? So if you pick up one of these things and that's what suits you, that doesn't automatically mean that you have to just close your mind to any other aspects of martial arts.
Right.
The whole point of mixed martial arts was to incorporate the martial arts as opposed to saying, well, I do this and that's the be all end all. Those days are over with. Now, what you're saying in terms of the culture, from what I'm understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that one, people just think competitively.
Yeah.
And, you know, so a person that is not as in tune with the origins of the martial art that they're learning, they're just going to be, I want to beat some behind today. I want to kick a leg or two. And then when they get to doing it, those are usually the fastest people out the door because they're in there for superficial reasons.
Right.
Like things that are not going to help them sustain them for very long. As soon as they're not the one throwing the punch, as soon as they have to defend, as soon as they have to eat a punch or eat a kick, or you know what? I don't like this very much. I don't like being. I want to be able to dish out the pain, but I don't. Taking it, that's not me. I'm going. And so a lot of times you'll have people that they need to get the mentality down, even if they're not, you know, somebody that's just going to run out of the gym as soon as they feel some pain. Even if they are tough, mental toughness is what gets you through. Being able to be calm in situations that, you know, people would have a hard time being calm in. These are the things that you learn, for example, being a firefighter, being a police officer, you know, being in the military. You have to be able to think clearly in dire situations, stressful situations, whereas somebody else might just stand there and scream out of shock. You need to be able to operate and react. And so the mind, you know, is definitely the first thing that should be trained. And then the body should come second. I mean, in my opinion, anyways.
No, yeah, I 100% agree with everything you just said. I mean, that was pretty much, you know, spot on to my opinion. And like I said, I feel like a lot of people, particularly with Muay Thai, but Muay Thai is such a big part of mixed martial arts,
yeah.
you know, that there's such a, almost like a cult around it or an elitism to it. And I practice Muay Thai, so I'm not knocking Muay Thai. I think it's a great martial art. I prefer Muay Boren, which is a more classical version of Muay Thai. That's just me. But yeah, I think it's a great martial art. But like, here's an example. I was working on this crime documentary series a few weeks back, and I don't think I'm allowed to talk about it yet, so I won't say which one. Boop, beep. Beep, beep. No, you can leave that part in there, but I just can't say what specifically it is. And I was talking to this guy, and you know, he found out I'm auditioning for this other project, and he's like, well, that's going to be heavy in martial arts, isn't it? What martial arts do you do? And we started talking about this. And I mentioned that I did, you know, Muay Thai, Muay Boren, and he was like, "Oh, I love Muay Thai," and starts going off about how that's his preferred style and everything. And I'm like, "Okay, great, you know, that's cool." And so I says, "That the only style you do, or have you done stuff before?" And he says, "Oh yeah," he says, "I have 2 black belts. I have a second degree black belt, and I think it was Kyokushin karate, and then he had a first degree black belt in Taekwondo." And he said, "I said, oh, how long did it take you to get both of those?" He said, "A little over 20 years." And you know, it takes a while. Sure, it makes sense to me.
Not just a giveaway. Yeah,
right, exactly. And so then he says, talking about Muay Thai, and I said, "How long have you been doing Muay Thai?" And he said, 2 years. And he said, and the thing is, he says, I feel like he says, if I was completely never did martial arts at all before doing Muay Thai, because I feel like my 2 years of Muay Thai experience, I can kick the ass of my 20 years of karate experience like that. Dang. And I'm like, if you're talking about on top of, then of course, you're supposed to be advancing. But you're saying instead of somebody who has 20 years of 2 different kinds of martial arts can have their ass beat by somebody who did 2 years of Muay Thai.
Right,
like,
I doubt that.
That just doesn't make any logical sense to me.
So what he's doing is he's just completely negating his gains, so to speak.
Yeah.
His gains from the 20 years in karate.
Yeah.
And saying, okay, well, that gave me no basis. You know, I started Muay Thai and, man, I picked it up really quick. okay, you picked it up really quick because you had the fundamentals from karate, and that's what I'm seeing there. If there's, you're more than welcome to come on and talk to us if that's the case. If there's something different that we need to know, but yeah, it's interesting to see people's perspectives on MMA in general, and just to see how, like, for example, when it comes to different fighting styles, when you have people that are closed-minded, they usually, like, if they pick, like, even this guy, let's say he picks Muay Thai, and then that's it, that's the only thing that he does, what have you, and he never learns any ground. Okay, cool, that might work. Then what happens when you get taken down? If you trip on a rock, what do you do now? Are you supposed to kick someone from the bottom? Are you supposed to, like, so with that being said, it's about, instead of me saying, hey, listen, I'm really strong in this particular area, all I need is biceps, man. I'm never working legs. I'm good. I got it. I got everything I need. You know, I just started doing bicep curls this way, and all of a sudden, bam, bam, bam. So I'm just going to keep doing that, because over the last couple of years, you know, not that Perry got too much, but, you know, that's what it seems like.
Yeah.
You know, try to get well-rounded if you can. If you have something that works for you, cool, but just don't take away from somebody else's success if they have success with something. If they're learning this over here and you're learning this over here, maybe you can come together and say, hey, man, do you have any things that you can show me? And that's how it all started, and that's the way that, in my eyes, it should be. It shouldn't be like, oh, okay, well, oh, you're with the Muay Thai guys? All right, well, you know what? We're over here with the jiu-jitsu guys, you know, and we'll see you. We'll get together on Saturdays and see who fares the best. You know,
right.
that's done.
It's done.
That's
Yeah. There's no reason to have this, you know,
that's
division.
That's what UFC began with.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think we've seen this story already.
Yeah.
This film. All right. And speaking of films, right? Something that hits home with me. Okay, and probably a lot of other people my age, left that part a little lower, is Sonic, the Sonic movie, right? Sonic the Hedgehog.
Ooh, it's getting close to release. Comes out next month.
Yeah. Now, I saw that they were having some technical difficulties in the beginning with Sonic's face and their depiction of him. I mean, it was not good. It was not good. However, they cleaned that up nicely. Now the most recent render that I saw looked just like Sonic from the video games, so that was excellent. You know, he had the right shoes on.
Actually had gloves on instead of just like weird white hands.
Yeah, come on. Nobody wants to see that. And Jim Carrey, man, Dr. Robotnik, couldn't have got anybody better. I think in terms of playing this character, I think Jim Carrey was the right person for the role.
Yeah, I'm not a big Jim Carrey fan. I just don't think that he's that great of an actor. I think he's got a very good, like, one-dimensional note. Yeah. But that, that note gets tiresome to me real fast. And so, like, when I see him in different roles, it's just like, okay, come on, man. But I do think this role is one that needed that note. Yeah, I think that he was a very appropriate casting for this movie, for sure.
I mean, you're not going to get Will Ferrell or something like that for Dr. Robotnik.
Right.
Although he's funny and everything like that, I think Dr. Robotnik, to go from being ridiculously serious, which is Jim Carrey, that's what he does. He can channel some of that old Fire Marshal Bill and The Mask, and like he's got some things, but I understand the niche that he's in.
Yeah, and The Mask, that was another one that just fit perfect. Yeah, you know, there's nobody else who could have played that role.
Yeah, and got it over with the fan base. And so Sega, right? Did you play Sega as a kid?
Yeah. I had a Genesis CD mix.
Okay. All right, I got you. Upgraded. Yeah, so I had the Sega Genesis, had the Sega Saturn briefly, and then the Sega Dreamcast. I know that if you're under 20 years old, you probably don't know what we're talking about right now.
But they have those, like,
they have the new
classics that come out and stuff like that. And I remember they had a PlayStation and Xbox, like, Sega classics in quote, right? That. So they have re-releases.
What games did you play on Sega?
Oh man,
Besides Sonic, did you play Sonic?
Yeah, mainly Sonic. To be honest, I had Sonic 1, 2, and 3. I had Sonic and Knuckles, which was my favorite. Sonic CD, which is a fantastic game.
That the one that came with the extra layer, you had the initial disc. I mean the cartridge, and then there was like some double cartridge on top of it.
That was
was that 3D?
That was maybe it was 3D Blast. Might have done that too, but Sonic and Knuckles did that. Oh yeah, where you could put another game on top of it. Yeah. No, Sega CD was an actual CD. It was an actual disc. But that was the one that had Robot Sonic as the bad guy. So that was really cool. But yeah, aside from Sonic games, I played. I think it was called Virgo Man.
I know which one. Something Vector Man.
Vector Man. Yeah, Vector Man, the little green ball.
Hey, shout out to Virgos though,
Yeah, shout out to Virgos. Why not? I liked the Golden Axe. Was real fun. Yeah, particularly the first one. Yeah. Streets of Rage. Streets of Rage. Man. I was gonna say Streets of Fury.
Right. Yeah.
But Streets of Rage.
That's mixing too. There was was it Streets of Fury? It was something or Final Fury, something like that.
Final Fury. Yeah, Final Fury was a fighting game. Yeah, I remember that one too.
Then, what do you call it? I played, what was the name of it? The one that says, Rise from Your Grave. Altered Beast. Altered Beast was a good one. That's on the one of the games that's on the classic that you can buy now. Let's see. Gunstar Heroes. That was a big one. And of course, the wrestling game of the time, WWE or WWF Raw. Let's see.
What was really interesting about Sega was, the diversity of the games were incredible. Everything was quite different. But you look at Sonic, right?
Ghouls and Ghosts.
That was a good one. Yeah. That was a good one. If you look at Sonic in particular, though, people talk about you can never have a Superman game or a Flash game because they'd have to move too fast. Sonic got pretty fast there, but somehow you were always able to keep up and figure out what you were doing. Like, it didn't feel out of hand.
Right.
Like it felt fluid. It felt motion. And I think that older games like in that generation, Nintendo 64, Sega Genesis, Super Nintendo stuff, I think the graphics are a lot better than we all remember them being.
Right.
People put, laugh and put them down and stuff now, because we got, PlayStation 4 and 5 coming out and whatnot.
In comparison to those. But
I think it was a lot better than we all remember it being.
Well, not every game had the best graphics, but some companies did the best that they could with that.
Yeah, I'm talking about the flagship games.
Yeah. They really made them look pretty good. Speaking of which, Dreamcast, right?
Yeah.
Sega's last-ditch effort to salvage their console department, right? Dreamcast, to me, well, you had PlayStation, right? And then you had Dreamcast. Dreamcast had so much potential. Dreamcast had internet capability. Like, you could connect to the internet. Even though you could not really do anything with it, as I recall anyways. Maybe, somebody more knowledgeable on Dreamcast can come back and let me know. But I just remember being like, oh, cool, you can connect to the internet. And do what? So they had the basis. Right, exactly. They had the basis for what we would be doing today before we had it. The memory cards in the controller, things like that. It sucks, but it was the stepping stone for other brands to come out with their console and copy some of the things, but do it a little bit better than Dreamcast was doing it.
Well, the problem with Dreamcast is it was just so... I guess the only word that's coming to my mind is sketchy, in the way that... Well, I had so many friends who bought Dreamcasts, and then they just tore up immediately.
Oh, yeah.
And then they had to take them back to the store, it was within the first 90 days return policy or whatever. Now it's 15 for electronics. Yeah. But, I remember, quite a few of my friends got it, and it would just break on them, immediately. But I love the Sonic Adventures games. Yeah. You had to run from the orca whale that was attacked. That was the best. You can't get better than that.
And graphics wise, it was a step up too. Not every game again, but Dreamcast did have some good graphics. It's just that they had to rush a lot of their games to production, I believe,
Probably.
in order to get certain things out, and I feel like that's part of the reason why it didn't fare too well at first. There's not enough games. I wanted a little bit more diversity in the game department, and then it seemed like it just, I don't know, they either ran out of money or what have you. But like you said, them breaking down was not a good look.
Yeah. But Sony has that problem nowadays. Like every time they launch a new system, PlayStation 3, 4, and seemingly 5 is going to have the same problem. The Vita, all of them. The first runs of them always tear up.
Hey, I wait about 6 months usually for them to...
Exactly. I wait a couple years, so that way the price will drop too. The only reason I got a PlayStation 4 was because I was working for a cell phone company at the time, and I was visiting a Black Friday for an event launch thing. And it was Best Buy on Black Friday. And so I was like, oh, well, since I'm here,
Right.
I was like, PlayStation for half off? Why not?
Well, I got a PlayStation. Well, the PS4 that I got it much later. But I got it off of somebody. It was a family that was getting ready to move. They said they didn't want it anymore. And I said, you know what? I'd gladly take that off your hands.
There you go.
And so hopefully they're living their best life, because I know I am with that PlayStation. You understand?
So are you a PlayStation guy or an Xbox guy?
I'm a PlayStation guy.
Good.
Xbox is right. Xbox is
we can
cool,
continue to be friends then.
Right. But like it doesn't surpass PlayStation for me. I've been PlayStation since the first PlayStation. So Xbox came in later in the game, so maybe that's why they got chucked. They also things don't feel as fluid for me from the PlayStation, from pretty much every iteration of PlayStations to the Xbox. Like the Xbox seems like it's, it was a little bit choppy to begin with. They've added things to fix that, but from the very first Xbox, which that was, I think, a little bit closer in terms of their like graphics and probability of messing up and things like that. I think that the PS2 and the first Xbox were closer, and then as things went on, you went PS3 and you had Xbox 360. It started favoring PlayStation a little bit more. One, PlayStation 3 had the online for free.
Yeah.
So that was a big thing. And then with the PS4, if you're a adventure gamer, I would say the PS4 is the title for you. That's the console for you. The Xbox is more so if I was going to play 2K or something like that, something really quick. Those games seem to run pretty well.
Very designed for like shooter games, I feel.
Oh yeah. Another like short instant gratification games, I like to call them. But like adventure games, even the ones that aren't the biggest names. What was that game? 1860 something? I forget the name of it, but that game, Until Dawn, a few games, if you run them on the PlayStation and then you run them on Xbox, you'll notice the difference. And the PlayStation wins in terms of its frame rate, right. I believe it is. But yeah, what makes you PlayStation over Xbox?
Historically, and I feel like the latest version of the Xbox, what's it, the One X, I think is what it was called.
Oh yeah.
I feel like they really stepped it up with that one. But historically, the PlayStation's graphics and memory card and like all the stats have been so significantly higher than the PlayStation that it's not even funny. But like we were talking about a second ago, Xbox is very instant gratification gaming, and I don't game a lot. I really don't, because I just don't have the time. But the games that I do play, I play primarily for the immersion in the story. So I play Final Fantasy, Kingdom Hearts. I like fighting games a lot, though, too. Mortal Kombat, Soul Calibur. And I feel like all of those are very much more directed towards PlayStation. Yeah. PlayStation does have a lot more exclusive adventure games, and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, I have Grand Theft Auto. I do have both, so don't get me wrong. But got Grand Theft Auto for both consoles. Grand Theft Auto looks much better on the PS3. So I mean on the PS4. Sorry, PS4 is
Probably looks better on the PS3.
oh dang, PS3 over Xbox One. That's ice cold. All right, so we're gonna wrap it up for today. Until the next time, make sure you stay tuned. Go to Facebook, check out Bing Zang Zoom. You can also find us on YouTube, and that's it. So this is T
And Matthew.
and we are the Bing Zang Zoom podcast. Farewell.
Peace.